This seam allowance ruler comes in two parts. The first part is the ruler, which looks pretty much like a regular ruler, except that right here, there are three little holes that go right through the ruler. This one here is at 1/4 of an inch. This one here is 1/2 an inch, and this one here is 5/8 of an inch. What you do is you take the ruler, and I recommend doing this. Well, you're going to drop your needle through the hole, and I recommend doing this by hand so that you don't break a needle trying to do it. Just like that. And then with your needle dropped, put your presser foot down. Now, what I recommend doing, since the needle is just the hole is a little bit bigger than the needle, just make sure that your ruler is pushed as far to the left as you can, and then drop your foot. And you can see I've actually got a 1/4 of an inch foot on my sewing machine. So you can see that this is exactly a 1/4 of an inch at the edge of my ruler, because it's right at the edge of my foot as well. Okay, so that's the first step. And then you take the second step, the second piece, the seam allowance marker, and you're going to peel the sticky stuff off the back. And this, by the way, will restick. But after a while, if it stops sticking, you can just use some masking tape or a command strip. So you take this and you just stick it right here, right up next to the first ruler, and you stick it down. So now you know that that seam allowance marker is at exactly a 1/4 of an inch. Now I'm going to raise up my needle and raise up my presser foot and take out the first ruler. And now, when I'm ready to sew my joining strips onto my quilted piece, I'm going to stick that right in there, and you can see that it measures perfectly that 1/4 of an inch because it's right up against the edge of the ruler. And then, when I'm ready to do the second seam, it works again right there. I can put it there, drop my foot down, and I have a perfect 1/4 of an inch seam allowance. So it makes it really easy to keep that 1/4 of an inch seam allowance. And of course, this works for regular piecing as well. But in my world, I particularly like this because the bulk of the quilted piece sits really nicely against the bulk, the higher edge of this ruler here, and it makes sure everything gets sewn exactly the right width. You can find this in my web store at www.freemotionmasteryinamonth.com. Thanks for joining.